This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on and ready to go.
Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How are we? Are you well? I hope you are. Are you enjoying the Euros? North Macedonia. I tell you what, I am never, ever, ever listening to Brad again. But I thought we were going to have a North Macedonia-Wales final. Well, one half of that might still be right, but North Macedonia, went down fighting, didn't they? But welcome along. It's Thursday night, and it's our first of our new shows that we've got planned for the summer. Give Me Five. We're live. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you find us on Facebook, it's Leicester Till I Die, the group. In the Twitter sphere, at Leicester TID. And if you're on YouTube, it is Leicester Till I Die TV. And please, if you are on to the old YouTube, please give us a subscribe. Press that like button for the video and help us out. It really does make a difference to us. So, what have we got going on tonight? Well, we'll get the first one, so bear with us. It could all go wrong, and knowing me and Craig, it probably will. One of us has been drinking, and it's not Craig, so we'll have a look how we get on. A joke. This is what we've got coming up tonight. Have a look.
Give Me Five from Leicester Till I Die TV.
Join in as we look at the good, the bad, and even the ugly
Of Leicester City.
With Chris and Chumps.
Well, I'm good and bad, so I don't know what that makes Craig. Let's ask him. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening, Chris. Good evening, everyone. And yes, it is me. I've just got some. I've just got some. It's like we're going to do 2 Ronnies now. We've been accused of that before, even more so.
We've been accused of a lot worse, really, haven't we?
That's true, but not by Operation U-Tree. So nobody think that.
I tell you what. Did you ever watch Hello?
Occasionally.
Okay, there's a guy on there, and he used to pretend that he thought he was really good at disguising himself, and he used to go, "'Tis I, Leclerc." You reminded me of that. Showing my age now.
This is because tonight, because I've obviously, because it's a new thing. I've got copious notes that I've had to write up like a true professional. Apparently, contractually, we're obliged to have one of us on the show, so it's my turn.
You are indeed. Just don't expect that contractually you get a yearly wage rise.
No.
Before we actually get into the I'm just going to say, good evening to Miss Melina.
Hello. Hi, Miss Melina.
Thanks for coming in and joining us. She should be
70
working.
million. Yeah, 70 million.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that leads us very nicely onto just a couple of things before we actually get on to the main part of the show. I mean, I don't know what's funnier, actually, the fact that Spurs are down to the 6th or 7th choice as manager, or the fact that nobody wants to go and play for Arsenal. 70 million allegedly we've turned down from Arsenal for James Maddison. Would you have turned that down?
I'm pausing for dramatic effect. Yes, unless we had someone lined up to replace him. I don't think you can. I don't think you can start to not improve your squad. So unless you've got somebody better lined up, then you don't. You don't give him away. And obviously, with it being Arsenal, it'll probably be in like, I don't know, 30 installments over the next 15 years. And so, you know, it'd be worthless by then. But, you know, I'm sure they'll find someone who wants to play for them.
I didn't realise that the guy Cronky that owns, I was talking to Melina earlier today. Like I say, she's supposed to be working. I want her job. If I ever get another job now, I want her job. Apparently, Cronky owns Walmart, which of course used to own Asda. So, you know, right. Leicester might get like a year's free shopping at Asda or something to as part of the deal. You know,
as long as they don't try and throw Xhaka into the deal. Then...
Oh well, you know, I mean, I was about to say, you know, could we lose Maddison because we have got Perez, but I think I can hear everybody laughing at me as those words were still coming out of my mouth.
Again, it depends. You know, does 70 million allow you to go and buy two top quality players on the up? Maybe it does. Maybe Brendan's got a plan. You know, everybody's got a price at the end of the day, and it comes down to, you know, if we get the best Maddison there is, then you turn it down. If we get the Maddison that we had, unfortunately, for too much of last season, then you would take 70 mil. But I don't think we're looking to let anyone go this season.
I mean, we would be. This is the season when we need to build that squad up, isn't it? You know, and add to it. Well, you know, there will be departures. You know, I think we spoke about that before on another show. So people will be going, but we don't want to let our big players. That said, you know, cost us 20, selling for 70. Would it, you know, at least maybe cover, you know, some of Coutinho's wages?
Possibly. I mean, if we're still in the boat where we have to lose one, I mean, that's an interesting whole debate on its own. We've probably got about 5 players who may go for a similar figure. Which one would you choose to lose? As I say, that's another debate.
It is. And like you say, the Maddison that we know on the top of his game is a game changer, isn't he? He really is.
He is. And I would think that he's sitting at home or Marbella or wherever he is watching the Euros thinking I should be there, knowing that almost as soon as these are over, there's a World Cup qualifying campaign that gets underway.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that he's going to want to be part of that. So he's got to bring his A game next season.
Yeah. Well, that's somebody that might be leaving, but we've been sort of linked with a few coming in, and yes, we are still here. Hello. It's the old walking downstairs trick. Yeah, we both did that.
I'm just reading that. I'm just reading it, Chris. Hold on.
What was that used to be the little guy looking over the wall?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was as big as that, but this is Fabrizio Romano, who obviously is one of the, you know, he seems to know it. He's got his finger on the pulse. He seems to get these things right more often than he gets them wrong. But apparently we are planning to announce a new signing soon. Also an official bid made for Patson Daka from RB Salzburg. Leicester completing the deal after opening talks for Edouard. And Samari deal done and will be made official soon. That's what we want to be hearing, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I saw a subsequent post that I think was from him saying that it was more likely that the Daka one would be done over the Edouard. Now, whether, you know, they're prioritising him and that's their first choice, I don't know. But he looks very exciting, that's for sure. He's got a fantastic record, albeit it is Salzburg, and you never know what you're going to get. I mean, Haaland came from there, but so did Minamino. So,
I mean,
but he looks exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, with Edouard, because a lot of people say, well, he's coming from Scotland and what have you.
Yeah.
But the thing with Edouard and with Rodgers is obviously Rodgers knows him. He's played with him for a long time. And if Rodgers was suddenly going to turn, God help us, into the new Craig Levein and bring every player down from Scotland that you've never heard of, he would be playing Benkovic. You know, 'cause he was a starter week in, week out for Celtic, and he's kind of said, no, I don't want, he's not good enough at the moment. So, Edouard would be welcome. Both would be nice, let's be honest, because we have got a lot of games coming up. But
True. I think, I think you could argue that both of them are a gamble because they're coming from lesser leagues, although they've, both got decent records. Thank you very much. But what I would say is, from what I've seen, the guy from Salzburg looks like he has got a lot more dynamism about him, and that's something that I think you could accuse us of lacking. We play a little bit slow, and this guy looks like he plays on the front foot, whereas Edouard looks a little leggy at times.
The only thing that worries me, and I can't remember, I was trying to find it before we came live, but the only thing I couldn't, but is that and I've forgotten his name already, the guy that we're Bakker. Yeah, he might have a bit of an attitude problem.
Right. Okay. Well, I would imagine that we've done our due diligence on that. It seems to be these days that we speak to a lot of people and get some proper feedback about their personality, because that's as important. You can't have any disruptive influences in a dressing room when you're trying to build something. So I would hope that if he does come in, then they've sorted all that out, and he's a good sort, as they say.
Yeah, that actually leads us quite nicely onto the subject of tonight's topic. You think we throw this show together, don't you? We don't. It's all very, very, very minutely put together. And basically, what I gave Craig here to do is I gave him a list of 22. Well, I gave him a list of 21 players, and he very bravely added a 22nd on yesterday. So we've got 22 players that. And they're not by any chance. Everybody will have their own opinions, but the 22 players that the fans, let's put it politely, didn't take to. Is that a polite way of putting it? Hate's a big word.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of these, I think you did very well dragging this list out, because it's one of these guys that I'd actually forgotten all about. And
I'm older than you.
Yeah, he's not that old. I'm quite surprised that I couldn't remember him at all. But no, I think, yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I think some came with reputations and they disappointed from that perspective. Others just didn't do it for us, for whatever reason, or they sort of wound the fans up. They did something wrong and never had the opportunity to put it right. So it's not a hate thing. It's as much unpopular or disappointing, I would say.
Yes, I think that is very, very politely put. So basically, if we've got any X Factor fans in tonight, and I know Craig, I mean, you must be an X Factor fan because you're a Eurovision fan. And what happened in Eurovision?
Yeah, I do like a bit of Eurovision, and we did great, as always. What I would say about X Factor, I would put me down as an X Factor fan. I used to like it, and then it just got really, really silly, didn't it? No, I've not watched it for a few years now. But
no, and you and me both. I think, to be honest, I used to watch it Saturday night with the kids, and then it just got, it just went on and on and on and on and on a bit. So, but for those of you that are still watching it, they have this thing called a 6-chair challenge. When you got decided whether you got the groups or the males or the females or the over 70s, whichever group you've got, is that you have to take them down to the 6 that you're going to take through to the judges' houses. Well, don't worry, because these guys aren't going to come to your house, Craig. So don't worry about that. Although you are the judge that has got the house with the swimming pool and the palm trees and what have you. Don't try and deny it. Don't try and deny it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work our way through these and see at the end of the day who you think, and it's your decision here, who you think is, I would say, hated, stroke unpopular, stroke disappointing player in our history. So, like I say, hopefully this is all going to work very well. And we are going to, let me just see, it's not working very well. We will be straight back and we'll do it straight after this.
Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Okay, so let's just randomly. Well, let's start with somebody here who is, for the older ones of us amongst the viewers here, Alan Clark.
Alan Clark, yes.
Okay, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I didn't. I never saw Alan Clark play for Leicester. Anyway, I was aware of him when he went to Leeds, and I think the first time I became aware of him was when he scored the winner in the FA Cup final. I think Leeds beat Arsenal in that game, if I remember rightly, with a diving header, 1-0. Yeah. And what I also remember, it was Mick Jones dislocating his arm and going up the steps to get the cup with his arm in a sling. But Alan Clark, I was just looking at and doing my copious amounts of research, obviously. That
do apologise to your wife. She probably doesn't see you anymore.
Yeah, that's not something that she requires an apology for, to be honest.
I did wonder.
She's delighted. So, I mean, we actually broke the British transfer record to buy Alan Clark, which was surprising that we would ever break the transfer record. 150,000 in 1968 we paid for him. And then he didn't really do a lot. That's unfair, because of all the players that we've got on this list, in terms of the strikers, I've gone through and looked at their goals per game ratio, and his is the best out of anyone on this list, to be honest. So a goal every 2.8 games. But then he didn't stay that long with us and went off to Leeds with Don Revie bought him for his Leeds side that he was building at that point. And again, broke the British transfer record to buy him for 165,000. So, I don't know too much about him. I think if anybody was disappointed in him, it's probably because he only stayed for a season and then disappeared off to Leeds and followed Don Revie. But as it stands at the minute, he takes a seat. Yes.
And I think I have to be honest with you, I actually got a bit of help when I did put these together from a gentleman who never wants to be recognised. So I won't give his name, but he did actually come out with a few of these, and I didn't realise they was bad, but who am I to question the people that know these things? Rob has just said there in the chat. So let's come on to Roger Davis.
Roger Davis. Yeah, that's not an instruction for any of you who may be
boom boom.
That is. So Roger Davis, another sort of strange one. He was slightly before my time in terms of going down and watching them, but I was aware of how our team was falling apart around that time. But he had a fantastic record, and he was one of the early players who went abroad.
Didn't we buy him from Bruges?
We bought him from Bruges. I mean, he was at Derby before that, had a good record at Derby. Then he went to Bruges, scored 21 goals in 33 games at Bruges. So you can understand why he would have been in demand. We bought him. Unfortunately, he scored 6 in 26 for us. But what I like about Roger Davis, and he will obviously go and take a seat. maybe he'll stay there till the end. Maybe he won't. But what I did like about Roger Davies is he loved the game so much that he carried on playing, and he actually played for Stapen Hill in the Leicestershire senior leagues until he was getting on for a few years, just because he loved playing. So I'll tip my hat to him for doing that. You know, there won't be. I can't imagine there's many professional players now who'll be going down the leagues and playing for the love of it. So
they would, in fairness, they wouldn't need to. Let's be honest. But
no,
if I remember, and you know, you've done your homework here. I'm going off memory a little bit, but he was a McClintock signing, was he not?
Yes, he was. Which again says a lot.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you know, that era, as I say, that was probably the era that I was starting to take more interest in it, but it was more reading the Mercury when the Mercury actually sent someone to a game and reporting on what was happening.
When the Mercury wasn't purely clickbait.
Yeah. Oh, geez, don't get me started. But yeah, you know, all I remember is reading on most reports, you know, Roger Davies missed a sitter, you know, and apparently that seemed to be quite an issue. But I mean, it was interesting looking through these players and looking down this list, how a lot of these players, you know, were successes either before us, were successes after us, and how some players just don't seem to fit. You know, they get caught up in a bad team or a bad experience because of a manager. None of these are probably bad players, although looking at the list, there's probably one or two.
I hope so. That was the idea.
But most of them, it's just not worked for one reason or another. You could put Messi into a team that McClintock or Levine did it, and you know, he'd struggled to turn it around on his own. So some of them were a little bit unfortunate by the timing of them joining the club. But as I say, fair play to Roger Davies for just loving the game so much. And so there he goes into spot two.
Roger Mr. Sitter Davies there.
Indeed.
Actually, again, just while we're talking of Roger Davies, because he was, like you say, or like we thought then, a Frank McClintock signing. And another one of our new shows is Leicester Wars, and I could only call it that after Robot Wars. And I'm not saying you're robot at all, there, Skag, but basically it's going to be a debate. It's going to be a debate, and we've got one coming up next week, I do believe, as to whether Rodgers winning the FA Cup or Claudio winning the league was the better achievement. And then we're also going to be doing one. Frank McClintock or Peter Taylor, who was the worst manager? That is going to be. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that because, like I say, McClintock ruined the dream that we had under Bloomfield. But hey, let's not preempt any decisions there. So but because of your love for his lower league exploits, I've put him in there at number 2. Yeah, Rob, you've been a little bit tongue in cheek, I think, there, the Steve Line. Hey mate, I'll send him round. But right, so who are we going to go third? Close my eyes and pick one. So who have we got there? Elvis Hammond. Elvis is in the building, folks.
Yeah, Elvis has left his career.
Cheers, Philip, by the way.
So Elvis again, 2005 to 2008. So he was here a while.
He was here that long. Bloody hell.
Yeah, and you know, he's one of those that just hang around for a long time. He was the sort of Damari Gray of his day.
Can't get rid of him as much as you try.
Yeah, and I've got no, you know, this is Craig Levine who bought him. Yeah. So you know, I know you're a big fan.
My favourite manager. Yeah,
yeah. And I looked at his record and I'm thinking, I have no idea why you bought him. Like literally, you know, as I say, Roger Davies had a fantastic record over in Bruges. Elvis Hammond, we bought him at the age of 25. In his 5-year professional career up to that time, he'd scored 2 goals. 2.
We did buy him as a striker, didn't we?
Yeah, he was sort of a wide striker.
Yeah,
Two goals in 5 years, and that was on loan in Holland. And to be fair, though, I mean, he went on to play 64 times and scored eight goals in 64. As I say, I've just put a note down here, strange one, because there's nothing in his record to know why we bought him at all. Elvis Hammond, everyone.
How many goals did he get for us?
He got, hold on, 8.
Oh,
1864. 1864.
864.
Borderline prolific. Yeah.
So, hey, honestly, that was a dire period for us, wasn't it? It really was. Are we? Well, where are we putting him? I presume he's going to go above Roger Davis.
I think he's got to go. I think he's got to go straight to number 1 for now.
Straight to number 1. In with a bang.
Yeah.
Woola, woola, woola. That was my Elvis impersonation, by the way.
It was very good. Someone called someone. Yeah.
You see, again, straight at number 1, Elvis Presley. We're working well tonight, aren't we? Right. Okay. So let's come up to date for some of the younger ones amongst us. And Mr. Slimani. I'm going to give it all 100% every single game.
I may be in a small majority here, but I really liked Slimani. I thought he had a rough time here.
Hang on, I'm going to have to mute you. I'll unmute. You're unmuted now.
All right. Okay. I think someone like Slimani, and there's another player in this list who I think people will expect to be highly placed, who you buy because he does something really well, and then you don't bother to play to those strengths. And I think Slimani was in that bracket, to be honest. He was fantastic. When you put the ball in the box and asked him to go and attack it, he would attack it and he'd take anything out. So you've got to play to his strengths. We've got Mark Albrighton at the time, fantastic crosser of the ball. Yep. But for me, Slimani never really got a run of games and we didn't want to play. He came at almost at the wrong time, that we were starting to change the way we play, and we wanted to be more of a possession team rather than get the ball wide. In the under Ranieri, I reckon he would have done as well as Joa, if not better, and he'd have banged a number of goals in and been a fantastic support striker. But at the time that we brought him in, we weren't playing that style of football. And I know he got angry on the pitch, a few times. But for me, that's because he was demanding more from the players around him. He'd been at some quite prestigious clubs, who playing at the highest level. And I think he was disappointed very often with the players around him. So I really liked him. I mean, I mean, I've got to be totally honest with you. And I think you look at, it's worse for strikers because you look at it like we just did with Elvis then and saying, like, return him to sender. Boom, boom. I should have saved Elvis, shouldn't I? All my jokes are going to go out the window now. But you expect them to score. That's kind of how you judge them, and we know that with Nacho recently. But I'm just laughing at Brad's comment. I'll bring it up in a minute. Yeah. But yeah, like you say, he was there with the header. We didn't have anybody particularly who was, Vardy could use his head, but he wasn't that good, and he was very much like Musa, who we bought around the same time. Yeah. The fact that he was played on the out on the wing as a winger, and he wasn't. He was a striker. So if you don't play to the strengths, then they're not going to do well. And unfortunately, we make that judgment based on that. Brad there saying he was told to be the big lump up top. I don't know about your big lumps, Brad, but we'll keep that to yourself. But have the confidence knocked out of him, and
still rather have him than Perez up front. Well,
even last season when he was still around, and Brendan sort of brought him back into the fold for a game, and he came off the bench in one game, and I thought, oh, here we go, he's actually going to get a go. But he didn't. He never even made the bench again. It's like asking Elton John to go on stage and giving him a guitar. You're not going to get the best out of him, are you? So, I like Slimani. I think he could have been good for us if we'd have used him well, but unfortunately we didn't. And I know some fans didn't take to him at all.
Yeah, so we're going to put him in there at number 5. Are we just sneaking in, like you say? I mean, that was a very good analogy, to be honest with you, with Elton John, and it's a shame, but like you say, that's what fans turn on players for the simplest things, don't they? Really, but, right. Okay, let's have a look at this guy who I'd forgotten. Now, here was one that I'd forgotten, and I hadn't got on my list when my friend reminded me about him. I thought he was all right, to be honest with you. Although I was obviously a lot younger at the time and maybe didn't understand football the way I do now, but I always quite liked Ben Marshall. I didn't have a problem with Ben Marshall. Again, he was probably underutilized. I mean, it's interesting, particularly with the shows that you do, Chris, when you have the ex-pros on and you get their angle and you understand how it can be difficult if you're in one week, you're out the next. You don't get that run of games. You don't get the confidence. You don't get to understand how the other players play around you, what you expect of them, what they expect from you. So it's really difficult. I was talking earlier today about Bergkamp when he went to Arsenal. I don't think he scored for 20 games because it was new to him. Unless they persevered, you wouldn't have had the brilliance that Bergkamp became. I'm not saying Ben Marshall would have been at that level, but he offered, he did have some talents. He could whip a fantastic ball in. He was great. I think I remember him scoring against Chelsea in a cup tie where he hit one from sort of 25 yards into the top corner. But he was just in and out of the side. I mean, looking at the stats here, that was his first competitive goal, was in a 5-2 FA Cup quarter-final defeat. And he scored his first league goal shortly after it. But he chipped in, with a few goals in that team. But again, whether he didn't have the right players around him, but it just didn't work out for him for one time and for one reason or another. And I think sometimes when you're looking to freshen things up and balance the books, then, somebody comes in with an offer. And I think Blackburn came in for him and the offer was clearly deemed to be good enough. And off he went. But probably one of those players who didn't live up to his potential for us, and that's probably why he's down here as a bit of a disappointment. I think I always like to judge players by, in fairness, what they can do after they leave the club. And I think if a player's that bad, they'll go on and do nothing. But he hung around for he was at Blackburn, I believe, quite a while, and had quite a long career there. Yeah,
he's still playing. I mean, he's only 30. So he's still around. And I think he had a period at Wolves. I'm not sure where he was last season, but I'm sure I read that he was moving around still in the sort of Championship or League One. So he's had a decent career. So it just didn't work out for us again.
Are we slipping him into the fourth hole there?
Yes, let's pop him in there.
Now, normally at this point, because we've got our chairs all full there, normally at this point I would play a jingle. But because we're in the middle of the Euros, and because Brad, their full-time focus, Brad, our one of our other presenters, is with us, he knows what's going to come now. And I've got to say, Brad, I said this earlier, I'm never trusting you with a tip again.
North Macedonia are going to win it. Get your bets on. You heard it here first. North Macedonia are going to wipe the floor of the tournament. Shock of the decade, shock of the century, you name it. You thought 5,000 to 1 was good odds. Well, listen to it. Get your bets in. North Macedonia to not just get out of the group, but they're going to win it. North Macedonia, come on.
What are you? Some kind of Doomsday Machine, boy!
Brad, I hope you didn't put a bet on them. I really do. I think
I'll
it's
tell you what, Chris. I'll tell you what, Chris. That looked like he'd been held hostage and told to say that.
It did a bit, didn't it? It wasn't the clearest of streams he's ever done for us, but some might say drunk, but you know,
possibly
far be it from us to cast such aspersions on Brad's reputation. Right, now then, here's where it really gets interesting, because to put somebody, and you don't have to put them into your top 5, of course, you know, let's just say that it can be you know, you can sort of leave them out of there, but if you do want to drop somebody in, then this is where they are gonna have to go. Now, I'm gonna just do that because otherwise I can't get rid of them. Let's go for Mr. Bad Boy himself. And I actually saw this guy at Burnley, because he left us and went to Burnley, and I lived in Burnley at the time, and I went to a Burnley Leicester game, and he was actually walking out of the players bit, and I went, 80, and as he turned around, I lifted my top up, and of course underneath I had a Leicester top, and the guy stopped and talked, and as always he was a lovely guy, but and let's be honest with you, he had a bit of a six-pack, didn't he?
He did yes, he modelled himself on me.
I wondered where I'd seen it before.
No, sorry, he modelled his finishing on me.
That's what it was. Okay, that I can believe. So,
Akinbaye. This is a difficult one for me, because he will be taking one of the seats, but I've defended Akinbaye on many an occasion, and again, for me, this is a Slimani type scenario as well. I mean, Akinbaye came from was Gillingham at first, 29 goals in 67 games, then 21 goals for Bristol City, went to Wolves, again finished as the top scorer, 16 goals that season, and then came to us for 5.5 million, which was a record at the time. So he came with a big reputation as a goal scorer. Unfortunately, he came into a Peter Taylor team. Now, if you've got, you know, people can hear me out on this and see what you think. So you've got a striker, and almost like an old-fashioned centre-forward striker, who thrives on balls being whipped in and getting on the end of them, header, very powerful, good in the air. And every goal he scored, and I remember checking this out, every goal he scored for Leicester was inside the penalty 12-yard zone. It was nearly all in the 6-yard box. He was that kind of goal scorer. So Peter Taylor, how do you get the best out of him? I'll tell you what you do. You sell Steve Guppy, the provider of all the crosses, and you tell Akinbaye to now start to play with his back to the goal and play as a link-up man, lay the ball off and then get yourself in the box. Absolutely ridiculous behaviour for me, for Peter Taylor. You know, he's looked on as a bad boy, I think, because of that. But his goal record, so 58 games, 11 goals. That works out to 5.3, a goal every 5.3 games. James Scowcroft, who nobody would ever say a bad word about, really. You know, he was a journeyman, but a centre forward. His record was a goal every 5.5 games. So it was worse than Akinbaye. But he's never looked on in those terms because he wasn't the record signing. And that's something that was nothing to do with Akinbaye. He was bought for a fee. And then the great Peter Taylor decided to turn him into something that he wasn't. So you can understand why fans turned against him. He did have one particularly bad game, apparently against Liverpool, where he missed quite a few easy chances. And fans, you know, if you're brought in for a lot of money to score goals, if you don't score goals, fans are going to turn against you. And clearly that's what happened. And I'm sure that at the time I was one of those as well. Not screaming for his head, but
No.
being really disappointed. But when you look at it, you step back and you look at how he was being asked to play. And as I say, that we all know that Guppy that season, I think, was second only in stats the season before to David Beckham in terms of the number of chances created. And Peter Taylor sold him, your number one creator. So I thought he got a rough time. But I know he would be right up there for a lot of people.
I think as well, he was replacing Emil Heskey, and when you're replacing, one of our own, if you like, that Emil was, and the success that Emil was. Let's be honest with you, it was almost like a perfect storm. Like you're coming in to replace. A club legend. You're coming in to replacing our highest scorer. You're coming in to replace somebody that was brought up and went to school in Leicester. And we paid 5 times more for you than most of our other players that we know, like the most expensive player ever. And the poor guy did have the weight of show, the world on his shoulders. Brad's agreeing with you there. Craig Taylor, his brother Craig Taylor, Peter Taylor ruined Akin Bay. Hindsight is a very good thing. Plus, also, when you look at his sort of history, he actually went from us to Palace. He didn't really sort of stay in a lot of places very long, but he seemed to do better at that level.
Yeah.
Maybe the Premiership was a step too far for him. But
possibly, but again, that was the Peter Taylor way. You get managers who think more of themselves than they actually can, and they think they can bring players in and turn them into diamonds, but not do the process, shall we say? So even nowadays, Rodgers will bring someone in, but the plan is that they'll develop over 2-3 seasons or whatever. Yeah. Back in those days, people used to think they could just bring someone in and they would take to the Premier League like a duck to water, because they're the great manager and they can do it. But if you're selling Heskey, you're selling Guppy, he also sidelined Steve Walsh. I think Akinbaye was on to, he was never going to win people over with that. And it was unfortunate for me, but, he didn't help. I'm not saying he was an angel and it wasn't all down to him, because if you miss chances, you miss chances. Yeah. But I think it was almost like a perfect storm that went against him.
And I think as well, when you look at, I'm old enough to remember sort of the Man United pre-Alex Ferguson years when it was all Liverpool. Man United would go out and buy a player simply because he was a star and he was doing well, but didn't need him for that particular position and try and play them in different positions. When we've seen Roy Hodgson play, Vardy out on the left wing, and let's not forget the great Johan Cruyff, who was manager at Barcelona, is, he played Gary Lineker on the right wing.
Yeah.
I mean, as one of our great best ever managers, Ollie said, square pegs for square holes, and then he went and put them all into triangular ones. But so where are we going to put him?
Well, we have to put him in here for now. So who's at the top at the moment? Elvis, isn't he?
Elvis, yes.
Yeah. So let's put him in. Let's get rid of Alan Clark, because Alan Clark probably doesn't deserve to be there. So
no. What we will do is that means Slimani will go.
Yeah, nudge everyone down.
Yeah. Although no, actually, should we do that where he just replaces Alan Clark?
Yeah, that way that you don't have to move everyone every time. Then.
Fair enough. That's very decent of you. Now, hero or villain, Mr. Speedy.
Wow. What can you say about Speedy? Obviously, we all hated Speedy. Anyone who was at Wembley or who was watching, then that dive. I tell you what, we vilify David Speedy for doing what virtually every striker does these days.
Yeah.
feeling some contact and going down in a playoff final at Wembley. When it's against you, you hate it. When it's for you, you still probably hate it, but you'll accept it and you'll take the penalty and move on. I remember you did a show not that long ago with Steve Walsh, and I think the question was asked as how did he feel when we bought Speedy? And it was great to hear Steve Walsh say that he sorted it out within the first day. I think he found him in the treatment room and told him exactly what he thought of him. But from then on, they were good buddies. I mean, I think he was on loan at West Ham when we bought him. He didn't get offered the contract, so Brian Little signed him for us. 12 goals in 37 games, a goal every 3 games. Second only to Alan Clark on all the strikers that we've got.
The rumour that I and again I don't know whether this is true, is that because Blackburn, he got obviously helped Blackburn get promoted. They didn't play him at all in the Premier League, and like you say, loaned him out. So that when we signed him, it was in his contract that if he helped get us promoted, that we wouldn't sell him.
Right. Well,
how true that is, I don't know.
No, you never know. You never know. Strange things goes on. I finished reading Barry Pierpoint's book the other week, and some of the things that were going on in there you wouldn't believe. So it didn't surprise me, to be honest. But I mean, what you couldn't argue against with Speedy was that when he played for us, he gave everything he had, and he was the same player whether he was playing for you or against you. He'd give his all, and he gave it all for us. You didn't play that many games. I say 37 games. He missed the final against Derby because he was suspended, and then later that year he retired due to injury. So he never got to play in the Premier League for us, which was sad. But again, one of those players that you'd love to hate. Like some other players who are on this list. You hate them when they're not in your team, but when they're in your team, that you love them. So, and I would put Speedy into that category. So, he won't make the list for me.
He won't. Whoa, the first bit of controversy. But yes, you're quite right. How many players do we not like when they do something for another club, but when they were doing it for us before we sold them, it was gamesmanship. But we have a Mr. Speedy not going on the list. Okay, talking about somebody else we loved to hate, and we'll have a look at Mr. Savage. Now, I kind of like Robbie because, and I know everybody's sort of quite anti him because, he used to play, everybody seems to, Leicester fans, I don't know if it's the same for other fans, but they seem to think that, these pundits that used to play for us, because they are now pundits, that they should say, well, the sun shines out of Leicester's arse. They're not. As pundits, their job is to get a reaction and to put their thoughts over. Now, I've actually heard him working for BT when he was covering the Europa League, and he was covering Leicester. And that's how he was. He was really very, very supportive of Leicester. He was very supportive of Leicester against Chris Sutton when, the famous Celtics B team is bigger than Leicester. How did that work out, Chris? But people do seem to love to hate him.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I've always liked him. Yes, some of his antics, maybe not. But I think more so, I think when he went to Birmingham, I think he said a few things when he was at Birmingham, and that's probably where a lot of the anti-Robbie stuff came from. But again, I remember him scoring a goal. I think it was against Villa down here, and throwing himself into the crowd. Just being part of the crowd. He threw himself. He obviously got the obligatory booking, but there was a couple of things that I'll always love Robbie for. Poogate. Do you remember Poogate? I'm sure there's
yes.
I'm sure there's a few players, a few fans who remember Poogate. So he used the referee's toilet before a game. And apparently you're not supposed to do that. He claimed he had an upset stomach due to antibiotics he was on at the time. And he couldn't wait, so he just dived into the referee's toilet. You know, and obviously referees, you know, if you think they're looked after now, then back then, geez, he actually got a £10,000 fine for using the referee's toilet.
Spending a penny, and it cost him 10,000.
Very good, Chris. He appealed against it, and it got thrown out. We find him
the fine.
Yeah, and he, you know, we find him as well, but I think we had to. I think, but he also there's a big thing because he went on to and signed for Derby, didn't he? So
yes.
Apparently, so in 2001, in the final minute of a game between us and Derby, he dived in the box for a penalty. We got the penalty. We scored the penalty and won 3-2. But apparently, it was a blatant dive. But Robbie decided to fist pump in front of all the Derby fans and so incensed the fans and the players that two of them chased him across the pitch and got yellow cards for it. As somebody just put up there, a total wind-up merchant.
Yes.
But when he was doing it for you, you know, you loved it if he wound up the opposition. And he's always been like that, hasn't he? You know, you know, wherever he's gone, he did it. I mean, he wound up Dion Dublin, didn't he? And Dion Dublin headbutted him, I remember, when he was at Villa and got sent off.
He's also, and there's a video out there on YouTube when he did wind up but the Birch a lot, and the Birch got his own back, I think. Also, and Brad said Tranmere in the final. I think it was actually Spurs in the final when he got the Spurs player sent off.
He did. The late Justin Edinburgh sadly died a couple of years ago. But he exaggerated a little bit of contact, I think, and got him sent off. That didn't work out for us, did it? So
no. Is he going into the top 5?
You know what? I'm going to put him in only because I want to get Slimani out.
I had a feeling it was going to be Slimani. Yeah, Slimani out. Right. Tommy English. I feel a bit of Adi Akinbaye story coming on here.
I don't.
No,
I know what you mean. There were similarities in terms of he was bought to replace. Well, he wasn't bought; he was swapped with Jim Melrose. I think is correct. At Cov by Gordon Milne. Now, Gordon Milne had worked with him at Coventry, and obviously then came over to Leicester, and obviously thought a lot of Tommy English. And but Jim Melrose was was a bit of a folk hero. He had a decent scoring record. He was obviously part of that famous Shrewsbury game where I think he came off the bench and scored in the cup when we won 5-2. So again, when you're getting rid of someone who the fans really like and you're coming in to replace him, you've got to hit the ground running. And unfortunately, the only time he hit the ground was when he just fell over, which he seemed to do a hell of a lot. And this was a play that I did remember seeing. In fact, I mean, his record, 44 games, 3 goals. Now, I remember seeing 2 of them. They were in the same game, if I remember rightly. I'm someone who's a real stato, can probably put me right. I went to, it was a League Cup game. I think it was the second leg away at Stamford Bridge before Stamford Bridge had been redeveloped. So it was the old shed end and God knows what. Horrible place to go to, particularly in midweek. And I think we lost the home leg. Tommy English scored 2 goals that night and took us through to a penalty shootout. I remember Joey Jones for Chelsea winding the Chelsea fans up to get them going, and we lost on penalties. But yeah, I saw 2 of Tommy English's 3 goals. But
he basically scored in 2 games there out of 44.
Everything else I remember about him was that he was just a player who lacked no confidence, had no physical presence, and had no finishing ability. But apart from that, top quality signing.
He's got to be in your top 5, hasn't he?
Well, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And
But
he
he's
is.
not. Oh, he is.
He is. So why don't we, against all of these other players, why don't we put him straight in at number 1?
So Elvis is coming out, or is Elvis moving down?
Yeah, move Elvis to Robbie's spot for now.
Move Elvis to Robbie's spot.
Yeah.
This is all this is all getting very, very complicated. It's like one of your spreadsheets.
I could nudge everyone down, but I didn't want to. I didn't. No. These are your decisions. Yeah.
I think I need a break. We'll be straight back after this.
Give me 5 from Leicester Till I Die TV. Join in as we look at the good, the bad, and even the ugly of Leicester City with Chris and Chums.
Right, I think we need to start rushing through these now. So
let's
we've got Mr. DJ Campbell.
DJ Campbell. So 41 games, five goals. I don't think Ian Holloway commented when we bought him and said that if he was playing in Birmingham City's reserves, he said if DJ Campbell goes for 2 million and he's only playing in Birmingham City reserves and Brentford's first team, it's absolute madness. Obviously, he then became his manager. He didn't do a lot for us, did he, DJ Campbell?
No.
But so let's put him in there though. Let's move. Who have we got at 5th there? I can't see him. That's Elvis.
5th is Elvis.
Yeah, let's get rid of Ben Marshall and drop DJ in there.
Okay. Goodbye, Ben.
This 5 is starting to take a bit of shape now.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't even see who that is.
Tony Spearing, I think, with a perm.
Is it? I have to be totally honest.
I'm guessing that's Tony Spearing.
I think it is. And because I've got to be honest with you, again, that was another one that was advised to me, and I'm like, I just went for it because you inform me about him.
There's not, you know what? There's not a lot to say about Tony Spearing. I think we bought him from Norwich. He was a journeyman, sort of solid left back. I can't remember him doing anything to really get the ire of the fans. And what I would say is that he was a member of the Leicester City Masters side that beat Chelsea in the 2005 final of Sky TV's Masters Indoor League. Do you remember when, for a short period of time, Sky thought it would be a great idea to have an indoor tournament with ex-players? I think Ali Moughlan played one year.
Yes.
Tony Spearing was in our team, so he clearly didn't upset anybody that much. So good on you for doing that. I think
Birch played in it, didn't he? I'm sure the Birch was on one.
I'm not sure of Birch, but I definitely remember... well, DJ Campbell, that is exactly what he is. He was offside. He's probably still offside now somewhere, wherever he is, to be honest.
I'm just going back to the early days of Sky Sports and some of the things they came up with.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as bad as the Daily Mirror, the Bunny Television, and the Topless Darts, was it?
No, not at all. They were the early days, weren't they? And,
early days of satellite.
Yeah. Now we have to put up with stuff like Naked Attraction. It's terrible.
I tell you what, I can't sleep at night, and it is often on at like 2 and 3 in the morning, and it's like, seriously, But what are you doing on there, Craig? Is what I said last night.
You don't stand at your window and slowly reveal yourself to the neighbours, do you?
I've got a blind, one of those, a roller blind that goes off. Hey, all my secrets are coming out now, aren't they? From what you're saying, he doesn't deserve, I don't think, to be in the top 5, does he?
No, he's a trophy winner.
No. Well, what can you say? Can you say? Now, this guy, I had forgotten all about him until I was doing the graphics for this, and I literally went, yes, a bit of a hero down this part of the woods. Played for Bournemouth for quite a while. Mr. Kermorgant.
Kermorgant. Yeah, he had his own song, didn't he, Kermorgant?
Yes.
Now, any recent Leicester fan...
Brad's just admitting that he stood at the window. Thing is, you can't say anything with Brad because his beard's that long. He covers everything up.
Yeah. Let's not talk about how hairy Brad is, shall we?
No.
So, Kermorgant. Yeah, if you're a Leicester City fan of any time over the last sort of 10, 15 years, then you'll only know one thing about Kermorgant, and that's that he missed a penalty in a playoff semi-final against Cardiff. And I'm being kind to him by saying that he missed it. He chipped it straight at the goalkeeper. Now, let's just... it brings back horrible memories that I try to forget, but let's just remember that if Aguero hadn't have chipped his penalty against Chelsea, they would have been 2-0 up in that game, probably gone on to win, and we'd be in the Champions League by now. But I'm not bitter about it, so that's fine.
I can tell.
Yeah. Anybody who chips a penalty is doing it purely for their own ego, because there's nothing to be gained other than look how cocky I am and I've scored. I hate it. Anybody who does it, I don't even care if you score. The only reason you're doing it is to make yourself look good. It's not for the team, it's not for the fans, it's purely for yourself. Anyone who does it, I hate it. And the fact that he did it at that point, if he'd have scored a hatful of goals and was high on confidence, fair enough. He scored 20 games, he scored 1 goal. It was a fantastic goal. I remember it, but you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And unfortunately, he will never be forgiven by any Leicester City fan.
I mean, had the goalkeeper done what the goalkeeper should have done, which was dived, it probably would have gone in. But I think he took the chance that, occasionally they shoot them down the middle and he didn't move. But the thing that always, strikes me, like you say, another day, another time, it goes in, he's a hero. Waghorn missed a penalty in the shootout as well. So it wasn't the actual penalty that sent us out, Waghorn's was. But you kind of felt for Waghorn, didn't you? Because at least he made an effort. And then, of course, let's not forget, a couple of seasons later, we had Knockhart's penalty that was missed.
If you think the keeper's going to dive, then smash it as hard as you can at his face, because it's going in. I just say there is no. I'd love somebody to come on and give me some reason. I cannot find any reason why doing that in any game is a good idea. I just can't. So he's unforgiven. He's a Clint Eastwood Western. Unforgiven.
The therapy is working well. Then is it, Craig?
it's fine. So, Chris, just give me a reminder of the 5 that we've got at the moment from top to bottom, and then we'll decide.
Got Tommy English at the top.
Yep.
Adi Akinbayi, Roger Davis, DJ Campbell, and Elvis Hammond at number 5. I know I'm no good at it.
Okay, well, let's move everyone down one and put him in right up there at number 1.
He's going at number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the chart. Oh, bless him. Right, so there we go with Jan. He goes in there at number 1. Okay, so next up, it's... again, somebody that I didn't think was that bad, Gareth Williams.
Gareth Williams. You know what? Couldn't even remember him. No. Never registered on my radar at all. You could have put a picture in front. You could have brought him round for tea. I could have sat down and had a chat with him. And only if he told me that he played for Leicester City would I have remembered him. I've got absolutely no. But
So the fact that he's coming on next week to do a one-to-one show, do you want to come on and join us?
He's always been one of my favourites. He's very underrated for me. I can't even believe he's in this list. Gareth Williams.
No,
so apparently, though, he was going to be a star. I mean, he was named Forest's. Well, having said that, he was named. Thanks, Miss Molina. He was named Forest's Player of the Year. So make of that what you will. But he got 5 full caps for Scotland. Didn't do a lot. Didn't make any impression.
No.
No. Not for me. So let's let him go home.
Let's let him go back out there. I think he was just one of those. He was just in a bad squad at the time, and I think that's what was it. Melina, nice to see you here. Just say this shows where we're picking the 5 most hated players, and I suppose, you know, if we did one for Arsenal for you, you'd have all your current squad in there. So maybe it might not be a good idea to do an Arsenal one. Sorry, Melina. She's been so nice to me today. I feel almost guilty, using her for banter. But no, I don't now. That didn't last long. It lasted about a second. Williams was during the Levine era. Yes, it was actually one of the few who did okay. Yeah, I kind of thought he did okay.
It cost us $1 million, because he was young. It went to a tribunal for his fee, and it did actually cost us £1 million, but he just didn't register with me at all.
Now, another one that I don't know why he's in. I think that's Alan Sheehan, isn't it?
Don't think so.
No.
No, he's not in this list. Alan Sheehan's not in this list.
Hang on then. I can't see who it is. Can you see who that is?
I'm not sure. He may. I'm wondering if it's
Joe Mattock.
It's the guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Joe, who, let's be honest, I think was one of your choices to go in.
He was. He wasn't in the original list, but he came.
And he should have been. In all fairness, he should have been. You were quite right.
Yeah, so, I mean, anybody who was around at the time can remember Joe Mattock. Joe Mattock could have been one of those, he's one of our own kind, came through the ranks, I think. But then he sort of jumped ship. He left. So while he was away on international duty, I think Pearson was the manager while he was away on international duty. So he'd done pretty well for us. He'd got a call up. I think it was for the under-21s, left back, attacking left back at that. And he got tapped up while he was on international duty. West Brom came for him, and he decided there and then, rather than wait until he came back at the club, decided there and then that he was going to leave. And he cited Richard Stearman as somebody who had done the same thing, because he thought West Brom were going to be the next big thing, and we were just we were going to struggle to get out the Championship. That the bright lights of West Bromwich, there's a sentence that's never been said.
I'm not surprised.
We're calling him, and so he went. So he put a transfer request in to Mandarich, and he went off 4 days later after doing that off to West Brom. But unfortunately, he just wouldn't keep his mouth shut after that, and he came out and said quite a few things which didn't endear him to Leicester folk. If you're going to go away, just go away. We've brought you through the ranks. We've given you a professional career at the end of the day. Be respectful. Say whatever you've got to say that you just feel it's time for a fresh move or whatever. Don't slag off the team that's the club that's nurtured you and brought you through and given it. Yeah. And then off he goes to West Brom, and he came back playing against us, for West Brom, was booed relentlessly, but then did the very clever thing of going out into town and still living in Leicester. I thought it would be a great idea to go into town, and then got involved in a fight. And so as it was reported, this is what was reported. West Bromwich Albion player Joe Mattock, 20, was given a suspended sentence for punching 2 men and 2 women in Liquid Envy.
I thought there was a woman in. I thought he was
in Liquid Envy in Churchgate, Leicester, on August 30th, 2009. Leicester Crown Court heard that Mattock, who was 19 at the time, hit out after he was given grief over a transfer from Leicester City. I mean, what did you expect? Seriously.
Yes.
I don't know what he expected, but he's in this list, and he can pop in there just below Jan Kermigan, and everyone else can take a step down.
Right. You said that with true feeling there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't like, you're privileged to be a footballer. Whatever you think, have some respect for the fans. Footballers these days come out and say how important the fans are. And yes, you do get grief from time to time. But, that's because people are passionate about it. They want their team to win. If you're going to move on. But don't slag off the people that gave you the chance. Just go gracefully. And he didn't. So I don't like that.
Are we keeping those 4 in? Are we keeping Campbell in?
Let's get rid of Roger. Let's get rid of Roger and move. Who's number 2 at the moment?
Number 2, Tommy English.
Yeah. So let's just nudge everyone down and pop him in there at number 2.
I'm just. I don't know where this has come from because I can't see it on Sky or anything. But Molina's is saying Daka to join Leicester is done.
I would hope it is, because he does look promising, I tell you.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if where she's reading that. I do know that she does. She said to me, she quoted me something yesterday, and it was some paper from Egypt or somewhere that I'd never known, never heard of. And that was, I think, originally the Madison story. So, Melina, please, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? I make no apologies. I make no apologies for actually just doing this here, but we do, I think, need to just double check this out, don't we?
Yeah, I've got it here on Twitter as well. Patson Daka is set to join Leicester. Done deal. The official proposal has been accepted by RB Salzburg board today. LCFC are planning to announce the new signing next week. No Liverpool, Chelsea, Leipzig for Daka. So other teams are in for him, and he's chosen a team that's playing in Europe.
Is that on Twitter? Is it?
That's on Twitter. Yeah.
The last one I've got here done deal. That's the one, is it? Daka is set to join Leicester, done deal.
Yes, 8 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Melina, on the ball. Well done.
Yes, you're on the ball. You're on that was a great England song, wasn't it? So apologies, mate. No apologies for just adding that in. Melina completely come in and throw me off sentence here. She very kindly typed it all out. Do you actually do any work? We were talking for about an hour earlier while you were at work. I don't know what you do.
Is she the health secretary?
No, she works for a bank.
All right.
When I say work, it's a very loose word, isn't it? Anyway, welcome, Daka. Welcome to Leicester.
Yes, indeed.
I am working. Yeah, well, if that's working, no wonder Canada's in the trouble that Canada is in, Right, back to, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 8 to get through now.
Right, let's rattle through a couple.
Yeah, let's Lee Marshall.
Yeah, again, journeyman player. We bought him from Norwich for 600k, sold him a year later for 700k. Gary Megson sign him. Lee was highly sought after.
Was he here long enough to make any signings, Gary Megson?
Well, yeah, he made that one. Lee was highly sought after when he was at Norwich, but his time at Leicester probably hasn't gone as well as he or Leicester would have hoped. We changed manager twice while he was with us, so you can't blame him for wanting to get out. No, again, I think he was one of those who could play in a few positions. A squad player, I think you'd call him, but nothing either way really to annoy fans, I wouldn't have thought. So we'll leave him off the list.
Right, okay. So just updating the news there, as Brad said, and I think this probably sums it up for a lot of fans. So, right. So we'll take him down. Right. They're getting to the interesting ones now. Trevor Benjamin.
Now, Trevor is Trevor. Yeah, Trevor's. What can I say?
Ology, wasn't that, Trevor? You've got an ology. You should be proud.
It was. So, quality striker, goal every 7.4 games. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, thing is that Peter Taylor. Do I need to say any more? Peter Taylor wanted him when he was manager at Gillingham. So once more, Peter Taylor took Gillingham from, for those who don't know, he took them from what would now be League One into the Championship. And he wanted Trevor Benjamin to head up that challenge to solidify their place in the Championship. He then gets the job at Leicester and thinks, that guy who I thought would be a decent Championship signing, why don't I buy him and play him in the Premier League? Again, a trier. I think if you're going to be kind, you'd say he was a trier, but that was it. And you're right. If you look at him on Wikipedia, you have to scroll, I tell you, because he's been playing for a few clubs.
Did I not? He was at Norwich, but there was another striker that he was partnered with, he was with at Norwich, that went on and he was very good, and he was like the better one of the two, if you like. Yeah,
I'm not sure if he was that. I know he was at Cambridge. He had a decent record at Cambridge, but yeah, I just don't think he was a bit cumbersome. I think and again, when you're not playing with confidence, strikers are the worst. They want 2, 3, 4 touches every time a ball comes into them, and you've got to be instinctive as a striker, as you and I would know. Both being top quality goal machines.
You have scored one of the most classic goals ever at the King Power, haven't you?
Well, I've scored at the King Power twice, but I don't like talking about it, Chris. So let's just move on.
Hey, if I'd known, I should have put you on this list, shouldn't I?
You could have done. Yeah, I tell you what, if you'd have had a top 5 most unpopular in my household, I'd be on this list. That's for sure.
I just can't think who it was, but I'm sure when he was at Norwich, we bought him from Norwich, didn't we?
Did we not? I'm not sure. I thought we bought him from Cambridge, but you could be right. He could have gone on to Cambridge. I think he just had a camper van and he just stopped off at clubs.
I just seem to think that there was 2 strikers at Norwich. He was the Ernie Wise to the other guy's Eric Morecambe, and somebody else got Eric Morecambe, and we ended up with Ernie Wise. But does he make the list, or
who's at 5 at the minute?
DJ Campbell.
Yeah, put him in there. Put him in instead of DJ.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. Controversial here. Now, I've got to go. This is one of my favourite all-time Leicester players. We used to be known as Dracula because he was scared of crosses. Old Zolko Kalic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, probably
played absolutely, had his best ever game for Leicester at Wembley, of course.
He did indeed. The way that he ran from the touchline into goal, I don't think he touched the ball. But he will be forever known as the guy who took Crystal Palace's eye off the ball.
Went on to AC Milan, of all places.
He had a fantastic career. Again, goalkeepers. Oh dear, thank you.
You got a fan.
I think, yeah. Thank you for supporting me there. Thank you.
Thank you for your support. I will always wear it.
Yes. I'm going to say he's going to be. He's folklore. Exactly. He's folklore. He can't be on this list because he threw a couple in the few games that he had. Let me just have a look. Yeah, he didn't play many games at all, did he? But I think he had a few howlers, to be honest. But he will be forever known for that one moment in the playoff final. So, no, I'm with you.
I know there was a game. I think it was the equivalent of the Carling Cup at the time, and I remember him. Like I said, I think we lost it, and the opposition, whoever it was, scored twice, and he was at fault for both of them.
Yeah, but as I say, you'll just look back fondly on that one game. So
yes,
yeah.
And I'm afraid that you're not going to get on this list, Craig, but you could make it onto the transfer list. Apparently.
Oh wow! Does Miss Molina want me for the Arsenal show?
Well, let's be honest with you. Nobody else is going to Arsenal. Brad says there it was Bolton. I thought it was. I think on the cup, thanks to we lost out on the cup. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, obviously it's just me, but you're the one with the power here, Craig. Where does he go?
He goes back on the bench.
Oh wow! No! Oh, I am disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I am disappointed. Right. Okay. Mr. De Vries, who will, in some ways, will be remembered for his classic partnership with Mr. Hammond, and his electric organ guitar or whatever it was that Alex Hammond had. I'm showing my age. Melina, don't keep saying this. He'll want a pay rise.
Oh,
stop doing
Melina.
this.
Drop me a contract. I'll give you my email address.
Hey, Melina, you couldn't afford his wages. Not even Conker wouldn't pay Craig's wages. He will be remembered for that partnership. I'll be remembered for my old age and remembering these songs. If nothing else, he's remembered fondly. And it's one game. Again, it's one game. A bit like Spider Kalic there when he got the winner against Tottenham in the cup. But he did. It was a case of that. He couldn't. Get the old ladies in the naughty house, could he?
No, again, he had a great record at Hearts, and that's why.
He played with Craig Levine at Hearts, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly, and that's why Levine brought him down here. But again, he wasn't playing in a decent team. I mean, his record: 51 games, 8 goals, goal every 6.4. But that's the only thing he'll be remembered for. Again. It's difficult as a striker, as we said this before. In a striker in a poor team, you do need players who are players around you who are going to create chances. And I can't remember him missing a lot. I just remember him more as sort of going missing in games. He didn't really offer a lot, but he did score that goal. I think it was a big upset at the time. I think it was televised. I think 2-0 down, and we came back and won 3-2.
I think we were in the Championship, and
that's back in the days when Tottenham were a big club, and so not.
I was a lad.
So again, another one of those sort of run-of-the-mill signings who never really made it for us. But I don't think he's deserving of a place in that 5 as it stands at the moment.
Oh. Craig, you're being so wrong, I think is the word I'm looking for. But
just remind us who that 5 are at the moment again.
So we've got Jan Kermorgant at number 1, Joe Mattock at number 2, Tommy English at number 3, straight in at 4 with a bullet, it's Adi Akinbaye, and Trevor Benjamin at number 5.
I can't tell. Is Trevor Benjamin looking at me or is he looking at you? I never could tell.
No. Now then, this gentleman who, let's be honest with you, he was a great advocate of, don't run if you don't need to. That is Mr. Beckford.
Jermaine Beckford. Now then. What I'm gonna say about Beckford is again, Beckford's a funny one, isn't he? Because he's got a decent-ish record. I mean, his record for us: 43 games, 9 goals, 1 every 4.8. I think he was injured a little bit. Yeah, he didn't like to put himself around, did he? Clearly a talent, So if you could get the ball to him, he would finish it. But he was never going to make goals on his own. But Beckford scored his first hat-trick for Leicester in a 4-0 FA Cup win over Nottingham Forest.
And he kind of lived on that for so long, didn't he?
Exactly. It's worth living on, though, isn't it? If you're going to live on something,
Yeah.
a hat-trick against Forest, you know. So, he could have been better, I guess, with a different manager, maybe more game time. But unfortunately, the very least that people expect of you is to work hard, and he didn't.
Did he not in one game? Was he not being shouted at to sort of run back and help, and he just didn't?
Probably. It depends who the manager was and whether you would listen to that manager. If it was anybody like Holloway or
what did you say? I wasn't sure you'd get that then.
Yeah, you got to. I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you. So he could have been. It was a possible, but he's not going to make it.
No, okay. Again, you've been, mind you, having said that, like Brad said there, no Momo Silla. I mean, I think you could have probably put the whole first 11 on from that kind of team, didn't you? Ashley Young, just to say there, just confirm, Ashley Young has just signed for Aston Villa.
Wow.
Didn't know he was still playing, to be honest with you. And can I just say, I know Dan's not here, but if Dan watches this back, who's a Burnley fan, Turf Morehouse TV is his channel. He'll be very, very happy because he didn't want him. So he'll probably be very happy that he's signed. He was obviously going for, so he obviously wanted to play in claret and blue, didn't he?
He did. He was at Milan last year. So
yeah. Maddison confirmed to Arsenal. Madison confirmed to Arsenal 63 pence and a can of Coke. Has he won with Inter? I don't know. Like I say, I don't. I don't follow Ashley Young's career, but well done, Ashley. Right, so you've surprised me there. Now,
so we're down to the last three, aren't we?
We're down to the last three here, and we're going to have to put Peter Taylor's Love Child in there for the next choice for you, Mr. And wait for it, Junior Lewis.
Junior Taylor Lewis. So I think he changed his name to by Deep Hole. Weird one, wasn't it? Weird. Do you know how many clubs he worked with Peter Taylor at?
I'm going to guess 7.
You're one out. So it was a good guess. Good guess. 8. 8 clubs.
8? No. Well, I think you're going to say 6. Well,
8 clubs.
8.
And you know, he literally, as you say, as every Leicester fan thought at the time, he's clearly got something on Peter Taylor.
Yes.
You know, whether he was, you know, romantically connected with him, we'll never know. Whether he got some compromising photographs, we'll never know. But for some reason, Peter Taylor took him to every club. Now, if you read the Wikipedia page about Junior Lewis, I'm going to put an appeal out here now, Chris, if I may, because there's something quite traumatic on Wikipedia written about Junior Lewis. It says, during his playing career, he played as a midfielder, and after impressing in his first few appearances for Leicester City, he was touted by at least one of their fans as a future England captain. Now, I'd like to use this forum to put a call out for, if you know who that person was, could you please make him known to the authorities? Because they should not be out and about.
They shouldn't be out on their own, should they? Definitely.
No, not at all. Whoever would have said a future. You know what? Thinking about it now, it might well have been Gareth Southgate.
Do you know what? It's probably the person himself, because obviously with Wikipedia you can go on.
That's true.
It might be, or let's be honest with you. Talking of Taylors, Graham Taylor had a similar sort of love affair allegedly with Carlton Palmer. So it might have been that. Oh, future England. In fairness, though, it didn't say England captain of what. It could have been Tiddlywinks.
That's true. It could have been. Yeah, it could have been anything. But
no, you heard the appeal there from Craig.
Yes.
If anybody's got any information, please, let Craig know, because this guy needs help, obviously, doesn't he?
I'm looking like Shaw Taylor, so for anyone of a certain age, keep them peeled.
I'll tell you what, I didn't realise he used to be on New Faces.
Did he?
Shaw Taylor. Yeah, I was watching him the other day. Anyway, he's got to make it in. I'm not having this. I'm sorry, I'm not having this. He's got to go in. If I have to overrule you, he's going in.
Stop trying to bully me, Chris. This is online bullying. Online bullying, this is.
Can I just say, if anybody thinks that Leicester to Die is a democracy, it's a dictatorship.
Well, I mean, let's look at that list that we've got there. There's one player on there for me who doesn't deserve to be there, one at least. So I'm going to move Junior Lewis into number 5, and Akinbaye. I think that's Akinbaye still, isn't it?
No, that's Benjamin.
Benjamin can get away just because at least he did the decency and he left us fairly quickly. But no, Junior. Yeah, and I'm sure Peter Taylor said this. Junior Lewis slips in there quite nicely.
welcome to Carry On Leicester.
You're making your own gags there, Chris.
I'm not even on the same screen. I can't look at you because I know I'll laugh. So two to go, and this is the order. Do you want to change this order? So you got first is Mr. Let Me Chip a Penalty, Kermagant. 2, Joe, I Love Leicester and Always Will Mattock. 3rd, Tommy, you much prefer me to Melrose English. 4th, AD, look at my 6-pack, Akinbaye. And 5th, like you called him, Junior Taylor Lewis. You happy with that order?
I'm happy with that order.
Yes, right, sir. Can I just say,
thanks, Miss
Melina. I'm really going off you. I really am going off you. Shaw Taylor goes back to the 50s. But I don't know. I remember. Was it Police 5, wasn't it?
Police 5, yeah.
You see the link? Give me 5, Police 5. Yeah, it all fits in. Andy, if Daka comes, Kel's days are numbered. No, they're not. We're not going to go into that because it's not the show, but they are not numbered at all, Coach. I don't think at all. Right. Last year's, the signing of the January window last January, I thought, across the whole of the UEFA area, Mr. Ryan Bennett.
Ryan Bennett, yeah. Came on a loan deal for us with an option to buy for. Yeah, thanks, Brad. Make that
free the Leicester one.
Yeah, yeah. The price for Ryan Bennett, if we'd have wanted him to keep him, was 5 million.
Ooh,
5 million. Really?
Wow.
Anyway, so I mean, Bennett. Again, you can probably feel sorry for him, but I don't. I mean, he was a solid enough player, but the biggest question for me is it puts a big red flag about Brendan Rodgers' ability to gauge a player, because he wanted someone. It was quoted. He wanted someone to provide competition for Johnny Evans and Soyuncu, and he went for Ryan Bennett to provide that. That competition. And as we all remember, I think I'm not sure, is he still on the floor at Spurs where Harry Kane left him?
I mean, you honestly, what did you have before you came on here, Craig? I tell you something. I daren't turn me back on you because there'll be a knife on it in a minute. But, no, I mean, on one side, he couldn't make him, couldn't make or get a place in the Wolverhampton first team.
Yeah.
So why is he going to be good for us if he's not that good that he can't make it to their team? But secondly, and this is a serious question, and I'm open to this. What did he do I mean, I don't know. He didn't pull up trees. I get, but what did he do that was so bad? Was it just the fact that people like? Was he the scapegoat? The fact that we didn't make any more signings, or?
I don't know. It just seemed totally weird because I mean, you've got to have one of two things as a modern Premier League. I felt like Ronnie Barker then, Ronnie Corbett. And yet you've got to have either, you know, footballing ability, or let's say one of three things: footballing ability, pace to die for, or aggression. Now, I think it's safe to say that Ryan Bennett was probably only lacking in all three. So I don't know what I don't know what he brought to the team that maybe one of our younger players who's been constantly put out on loan wouldn't have brought. I know you can bring experience in, but experience in its own right doesn't count for anything. So it was a very strange decision. He did nothing in any game. And because it's quite recent, you sort of think of him in those terms of what the hell were you doing? And he did nothing for me. And, you know, Brendan's as much to blame for me for him taking a place at number 3.
Right. So again, are we taking Tommy English out?
No, everyone moves down.
Oh, so June, like you said, Junior slipped in and slipped out there, didn't he? Obviously went too hard on the Vaseline.
I was gonna leave him in, but Taylor's just been on the phone. He needs him for something. Apparently, he's got a job for him. So.
Okay, right. Well, now then, I had to leave him till last because otherwise, it's like you know the lottery numbers before they've been drawn. Mr. Dennis Wise. Let me just sit back. Let me put my feet up and just say, Craig, go for it.
Dennis Wise. Where do we begin? Dennis Wise. Let's just say that Dennis Wise got found out when he came to Leicester City. He got found out that he wasn't very good. He'd won a lot of medals. Fair play to him. He'd done all right at Wimbledon, where he was part of the crazy gang. You know, where the kind of antics he decided to get on with were probably acceptable. Then he went to Chelsea somehow and managed to play with some fantastic players, where all he had to do was get the ball to his feet, manage to control it, and then give it to someone much better than him. And that's all he did. He came to Leicester and thought he could do the same. Unfortunately, we didn't have any players who were any good at the time. So he just got caught on the ball constantly, looked so slow, blamed everyone else for his own deficiencies. And clearly, there was no camaraderie with him and the team, that's for sure. And as we know, and the one thing I've written down here, and for those people who don't know, pre-season tour of Finland, Dennis Wise was sent home and suspended from the club on the 20th of July 2002 after breaking the nose and jaw of teammate Callum Davidson in an argument over a card game. So, the one thing that a good team has is team spirit. You can, and it makes up for a lot of deficiencies. If you're not great, you haven't got the most talented players. We've had teams down the years who have not had the most talented players, but they've done really well because the team spirit is there and it bonds everyone together. I think it's safe to say that smashing the nose and jaw of one of your teammates doesn't really fit into the description of team bonding. If he'd have been brilliant on the pitch, maybe you could have made some argument and because people do that. I found it. I've had discussions with people. If they like a player, they'll almost defend whatever they do. Dennis Wise is indefensible, and he goes straight in at number 1.
Do you think he was a little bit, like you say, Danny Drinkwater, in the fact that, when Danny had Ungolo next to him, he looked good. When he didn't, it was a little bit poo, to put it bluntly.
To be honest, I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, if you look back at some of those games, Drinkwater had a great relationship with Vardy. The number of first-time balls that he played over the top, I think Drinkwater knew his place in that team.
Yeah.
I think he was badly advised when he left, but he knew what his job was in that team, and his job was to crunch into some tackles, get on the ball, and then give it to someone better. Dennis Wise, I think he thought he was better than everyone else. You know, whether he was coming here for a payday, I don't know what it was, but he clearly didn't want to be here. And as someone said, I think you're right. I think he won compensation against us for being sacked. For being sacked after punching another employee. Yes. I don't understand it. He's got absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
And Andy said this here, and it did make me laugh. It's a pity nothing attacked him in the jungle. Would you include Rebecca Vardy in that?
I mean, he came across as obnoxious
at the same time.
Yeah, he just came across as an obnoxious, cocky guy. You know, one of those who's done well for himself, fair enough. But a lot of people who do well for themselves, some of them respect the fact that they've done well. Others just think it's their God-given right. Dennis Wise,
everybody else down?
Everybody moves down one to complete our 5.
So AD comes off.
I never had any intention of Akinbaye being in that 5 purely for the reasons that I gave earlier, that I think Peter Taylor did him a total injustice, and it was hard done to. So that's my final 5.
Right, let me just let's talk through it then. So your 5 bad boys of Leicester City, unpopular players we love to hate, and just give us a quick synopsis. Now, there's a big word for this late at night, isn't it? Tommy English at 5.
Tommy English is in there. This is a list of bad boys, bad whatever. Tommy English was just bad.
4th, down from number 3 into 4th, it's Ryan Bennett.
I'll use his full name, Ryan Gordon Bennett.
He was, wasn't he?
I just brought nothing to the table. You know, didn't do anything particularly bad to wind anybody up other than playing.
His milk didn't bring the boys to the yard either, did it?
It didn't at all.
But straight in at number 3 with a bullet, and his milk possibly did bring the ladies, but then he went and punched them allegedly. Mr. Joe Mattock.
Joe Mattock, as I say, you know, you're 19. God knows, again, whether you're badly advised or you're just an idiot. I'm thinking it's the latter. Some bad choices all through, and obviously went on to have a glorious career in the lower leagues.
Number 2.
Kermigan.
Down from number 1, Mr. Kermigan.
He chipped a penalty in a really, really important game. Say no more.
And number 1, who probably the only time Leicester actually loved him was when Jerry Taggart, who was actually at Stoke, and when I did my interview with Jerry Taggart, I brought this up, and apparently Leicester were watching it on the bus travelling back from a game, and they all cheered because Jerry Taggart basically went for his throat when he was at Stoke. And Mr. Wise, not so wise.
I can't believe anybody wouldn't have him. Anybody who knew him and knows of him as a Leicester player, I think, you know, I think most people would have him in there, so he has to be there.
Probably his only redeeming feature is that he makes Declan Donnelly look big.
That's true.
So that's our 5. Agree or disagree, guys? You still got time to post a few comments. I think it's a very good 5. So let's say Tommy English. Number 4, it's Mr. Bennett. Number 3, Joe Mattock. 2, Jan Kermagant, and number 1. And I think he was always going to be number 1. Mr. Dennis Wise. Craig, you have been an absolute star, and I think you've done your homework. And it's been a great show. And obviously I disagreed with you on a couple of those. I can't believe that Mr. Lewis was dropped out of the top 5. But hey, listen, you're the man. You're the man with the. You're the wise old owl. So who am I to argue with you?
Thanks, Chris. No, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. I hope everyone else did as well.
Good. Thank you for doing that. Now, before we say goodbye, there is only one way that we can say goodbye today, and so it's goodbye from him,
and it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.
Thanks very much, Craig. Take care, mate. All the best. That was Ben Hill, wasn't it? That was Ben Hill that did that. Cheers, mate.
Yeah,
thanks so much. Thanks. What a show. Thanks to Craig there. That's a few surprises there. A few surprises for me. But hey, Craig's the man. He's the Louis Walsh of Leicester Till I Die. Don't know. I can see him backstage. I think he'd have preferred to have been Simon Cowell, but I think he's more Louis Walsh. Guys, I've lost it. I'll be back in a minute.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chums. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
Please subscribe now on YouTube.
It is. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much. We will be back on Tuesday. No, we won't. That is a lie. I am lying. I'm being a little Dennis Wise, and I'm lying to you. We will be back on Monday this week at 7 o'clock because there's a small matter of England playing on Tuesday. And so on Monday, we have got another new show for you. We're just too good to you, aren't we? We've got this on Monday.
It's the Leicester War Show on Leicester Till I Die TV. But who will win? Join in now.
Yep, Leicester Wars. When we'll be looking, like we said briefly earlier, what was the biggest achievement? Rodgers bringing us the FA Cup for the first time ever, or Ranieri winning the Premier League for the first, or the top division for the first time ever? We've got Craig and we've got Brad. Oxford style debate, and I'm going to have to pick a winner at the end of it. Wish me luck. That's Monday at 7. Tomorrow night, it's England. Enjoy that. Let's hope we can win. Thanks so much, and thanks to Craig for tonight. We'll see you on Monday at 7 o'clock. Good night.
Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.
To an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share and get involved. Join us next time.